Welcome to Financial Investing Radio, where you'll learn the secrets for consistent, high-probability returns in the financial markets for additional income to change your life. Grant applies consistent, high-probability trading systems for the financial markets. He's only recently started sharing these tried and true market secrets. As a gift to listeners, Grant is offering his roadmap to high-probability financial control. Go to financialinvestingradio.com and download yours today. Now, here's your host and trading veteran, Grant Larson.
Hey everybody, this is Grant Larson. Welcome to Financial Investing Radio. I tell you what, I don't know what happened to me in my life, but I'm feeling really lucky because I get another round of Todd Gaster. Mr. Gaster is in the house. And I'm so grateful that he has taken the time with us to do another episode to talk about his genius around mindset. So regardless of what we're investing in, whether it's real estate or mobile homes or the markets or stocks or ETFs, whatever it is, mindset seems to be this fundamental issue that we all deal with. And the last time, well, before I go further, welcome, Todd.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. You know, you mentioned in the house and being from Texas and you in Arizona, there's no better place to be right now than in the house.
That's right. So. Yeah, it's July and we're in the South and it's hot. In fact, before we got started, we were comparing temperatures, right? I mean, I think that's what old guys do, right, at this age. Yep.
You got to talk about the weather, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, thanks again for being here. I just got so excited because in our last episode, we talked with each other about your background, right? We went over some of the challenges that you'd seen. You went through your own journey of things were rough, things were tough. Then, you'd done some trading and made money. But then every time you did it, you would lose money. In fact, I would invite everyone to go back and take a listen to episode 60, where it's basically, Gaster can read your mindset, is I think how I titled it. You got to go back and listen to that. He talks about his journey of succeeding and then getting to a certain point and then failing. And that just, regardless of the market, real estate or markets or whatever it is, regardless of what he's investing in, he kept going through that. And he stepped back and said, gee, what's the pattern? All right, so I won't go through that, but he did a fantastic job laying that out. This episode, I reached out to Todd and said, hey, do you think you could do another one with us? Because I want to answer the question, therefore what? Right? Meaning, okay, you took us through that journey and you figured out these patterns, but I got a question for you, Todd. All right, therefore what? So you identified those. Is there something that you figured out that can help us with these mindset challenges?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And see, you hit on one of the things that actually happens more often than not. And that is people go to a seminar, a weekend event, a week-long event, one day. It doesn't matter how long it is. They go in, they get all excited, they get all this information and they leave. And then it's like, now what? Because they don't have a place to manifest or to experience what it is that they all just learned. And it becomes that now what? And so actually that's exactly where I was. It's wow. Like, all right, well, I figured out all the problems. It's all me because, as you mentioned, it didn't matter what the market was doing. It didn't matter the vehicle. I would make money and then I'd lose it.
Yeah.
And the only consistent thing in that whole process was me.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it was like, all right.
I got to do something about this.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm glad I know this. Now what do I do? Yeah.
So where did you start looking to figure out the solution? What did you do? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I did the same thing that we all do. I went and got a book. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to read a book because that's what they tell you to do. I'm going to read a book. So, hey, I started with the Think and Grow Rich. That's what it is. It's my thought. I'm going to think and grow rich. This, Napoleon Hill. I'm going to think and grow rich. Yeah. I did the Richest Man in Babylon. I did the, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Richest Man in Babylon, by the way, is an awesome book. But anyway.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. One of my favorites.
Yeah. And, I did the Rich Dad, Poor Dad stuff. I went through all the things that you always hear. This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And what it did is it got me real excited because I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I went out and I made a bunch of money and then lost it. Like,
are you kidding me? Wow. Okay, so it made sense, but it didn't fix this mindset issue.
Exactly. And so this is where that roller coaster comes in, and this is why it gets so frustrating for people, is because you go out and you do it. And I actually call it the karmic cul-de-sac. And what ends up happening is you're going along and you get triggered. Something happens, you see something, you hear something, whatever, and you get triggered and you start going into this little pit. This would be where I would be losing the money. I'm going into this pit. I'm going all the way down. I get to the bottom of the pit and I'm sitting there and I was like, you know what? I've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm changing. I'm never doing this again. And now we start what I call the false lift. Is we start to come back and we come right back up to where we were, and we feel better because we said, you know what, I've made this declaration. And it doesn't mean, we can be talking about weight, we can be talking about finances, we can be talking about relationships. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing that happens. And we go back and we sit here and we're like, all right, I've made this change. And you're going along and you're triggered and bam, you're down back in the pit again.
Wow. Because
you didn't actually make a change, but you thought you did. And so we end up going in this cycle, this loop over and over and over, the karmic cul-de-sac.
So we end up, we're changing really some of the symptoms rather than the actual thing that's causing it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not even really changing the symptoms. You're addressing the symptoms.
I see.
And you're masking the symptoms and you're hiding the symptoms. But they're still there, and the underlying cause is still there.
So we're taking an emotional Tylenol or Advil or something like that.
Exactly. And the thing doesn't change, but you feel better because you've made that declaration. This will never happen to me again until next time.
Until next time, yeah. Here I go again, right? What did the little engine say? Try again, right? So so you think, hey, I'm a fighter. So I'm going to keep fighting my way through this. So you keep going. So you went off, you read these books, you went and made some more money, you lost it again. What happened? What'd you do?
Well, finally it's like, all right, so there's more to it than just reading a book. There's more to it than just going to a seminar. There's more to it than, which is a popular thing right now, is just do the work. Okay, well, if you're running east looking for a sunset, I don't care how excited you are. I don't care how motivated you are. I don't care how hard you work. You're going to fail.
Yeah, that's okay. I want to see that. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a unique situation, a blue ocean. Some people might call that, right?
Yeah. So I had to look within. And so I started looking within. I started looking at myself. I started looking at the beliefs that I had, what money meant to me, and the meanings that I give. And this is actually the start of what I call the money matrix and the wealth matrix, is we start with the meaning. And so I asked myself, what is wealth? And I didn't have a very empowering answer. And here's the funny thing. When I ask that to people, or, what is money? What is wealth? That type of thing, they always come back. And, well, I know what that means. Great. Tell me. And they have a hard time putting it into words.
Yeah.
And then I immediately asked him, I said, if you can't put it into words, is there any reason? I wonder why you don't have it.
Why are you chasing it? Yeah. And what is it you're chasing? Are they able to equate it to relationships, to money, or is it just sort of a blank stare when you ask that?
Well, a lot of times it's a blank stare. And really what happens is they try to defend it. Well, I know what it is. We don't need to talk about that. And I always go back to the old, Vince Lombardi days when he was coaching the Packers, and he'd bring out a football at practice and say, this is a football. Okay. If you can't describe the most basic aspect of it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the first things that you found out was you needed to have a definition of what wealth is. Do you mind sharing what's the definition you arrived at?
So there's a definition of wealth. There's a definition of money. Okay. And they're two separate things. And this is another issue that comes up, is whenever I talk about wealth, people immediately think I'm talking about money.
Mm-hmm.
Money is a part of wealth, but it's only a part.
Yeah.
Wealth is wealth of body, wealth of spirit, wealth of relationships, wealth of bank accounts. That's where the money comes in. It's wealth of all these other areas. And then you look at money, And money is simply an exchange of value. It's energy. All it is you are giving value and someone is giving you money in return. It's an exchange of value or a scorecard.
I've heard some people describe wealth in terms of it being an abundant life. Would that be fair?
It is, until you ask them, what does an abundant life mean?
Yeah.
Because that's really a seminar answer.
That is a seminar answer, yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to, and here's another seminar answer, because one of the next questions that I will ask, was when I go into the second part of the wealth matrix is intention, is what is wealth? What will wealth do for you? And people, the number one by far answer is, I want to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, where I want, as long as I want. Like, that is an awesome thing. What does that mean?
I don't know. That's what they don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly, because they can't go to the next thing. All they're doing is they're taking in things that they've heard, and they're regurgitating it, just like a parrot.
Is altruism a fair and reasonable answer to the wealth question?
Again, it depends on how you're going to define that.
Mm-hmm.
It's, each person is going to define it differently, just like each person defines success differently.
Yeah.
Now, for me, wealth is wealth of time, being free to make the choices that I want, not that I have to.
Okay.
And that encompasses my body, because that's got, if I don't have the physical body that I can do things, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And when I was 320 pounds, it didn't matter that I had, $500,000 sitting in my bank account. I was 320 pounds.
Right. Yeah. So from that perspective, the wealth wasn't great because, you didn't have the ability to go do what you want. Okay. So what else is in there?
So there's also a wealth of spirituality and connection. This is where, you go into your altruism and everything. Mm-hmm. And here's where a lot of it comes into. This is part of the programming that we have. And this is why I use the matrix as an example, is because we've all been programmed. And when we're talking about the programming, it has become it's so bad to want money. It's so bad to talk about money. It's so bad to focus on money. And so everyone will tell you, and all you got to do is scroll through Facebook to see this over and over and over, is you get these gurus and you get these people from stage talking about quit focusing on money and focus on the value that you're going to bring. Okay. And I'm going to call up my mortgage company and say, I'm going to pay you with value.
Yeah. I can come up with a value. Yeah. That's. I don't even need a calculator. Yeah.
Exactly. But we've made it so wrong to want money.
So that some programming is what you're saying, sort of in society. Don't want the money. So if I hear you right, you're saying, look, you got to get the mindset right where you're after wealth. You need that strong definition of wealth, which includes the freedom to use time, specifically in areas, not just what you need to do, but certainly what you want to do, but it includes health and spirituality and other aspects. But it also includes the money part, is what you're saying, and you shouldn't be shy about that.
It absolutely includes the money part.
Yeah.
And see, we all know people who have all the time in the world, and they don't have any money to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We also know people who have all kinds of money and they have no time. We also know people who have given up their health in order to get money. We also know people who have sacrificed their family in order to get money. So the challenge is we really want to be able to have it all. And that's what wealth is having it all. Why do we've got to make it so it's only one thing? Why do we got to have, these people who are excellent in their body but suck at relationships? Why do we got to have the people that are making a ton of money but they don't even know their kids' names?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's have it all. And that's really what I talk about when I'm talking about wealth, is I'm talking about everything. I'm not just talking about money, but money is, you got to have that. And to deny it and to make it shy and to try and demonize it and all this other stuff, that's just, it goes against our natural tendencies.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, that's interesting. So you went through this journey in terms of you found the books didn't help you after you made the money. You looked at the definition of wealth. Now you have the definition of wealth in your mind. okay, what happened then? I mean, did suddenly your mindset change, or what happened?
I mean, you got to go through and change the beliefs. I mean, here's an example. All right. Have you ever had a new car?
Yeah, like once in my life.
Okay. And you would tell people, I've got a new car. I've got a new car.
Uh-huh.
At some point, you quit saying it's a new car.
Yep.
Your belief changed. The car didn't change, but your belief changed.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's different evidence. There's something that came through that said, okay, this is no longer a new car. The same thing happens with wealth. When we talk about, and I mentioned in our last episode that, I had a client who said people with money are dangerous.
Oh, right.
As long as he had that belief, that was going to stop him from doing anything to make money because he viewed people with money as dangerous. So he would never allow himself to get there.
Yeah.
So we have to eliminate that belief. And there's ways to do that. There's, you look at reference points, you look at different things. But I also mentioned, in the previous episode, have you ever said something and after you said it, and you're like, man, that was the stupidest thing I've ever said.
That was really dumb. Yeah. Why did I say that? Yeah. I've been there. Yep.
And then at that moment, that belief is gone because it came out. I refer to them as dragons. We have these dragon beliefs, these dragon states that are in, and dragons don't like to be out in the light. And so when you bring a belief like that out, you say it out loud, it is now out in the light, and it goes away.
So part of the journey of adjusting your mindset is first pulling out and identifying what are my beliefs. And when you've done that, then you start figuring out, all right, now what do I need to do to adjust those beliefs? Is that correct?
Right. You're looking at where you are and where you want to go. And so when you look at where you want to go and you say, okay, this is where I want to go. Is this belief, and I'll go back to the dangerous one, is the belief that people with money are dangerous going to allow me to become totally financially free? Yes or no? If the answer is no, we might want to change that. If the answer is yes, awesome. Let's go to the next one. Will this belief that you have, will this get you there?
This requires a lot of self-honesty in this part, doesn't it? I mean, I imagine that, if you didn't really come straight out with all of, what your real beliefs are, or maybe you don't know what they are, right? Maybe there's that part where you can't even articulate what the belief is. Imagine you run into both, but it sounds like this part requires that amount of honesty and introspection. I mean, could that take a long time to arrive at that point?
It doesn't take a long time, but you're right. It does require honesty, and that's also why it requires to have the success that you want. It requires to have someone else there. It requires to have someone else involved. Because here's the thing. I can ask you a question, and you go and ask yourself it and whatever. And what happens is you immediately give the answer. You immediately give the truth, and then you start arguing with yourself. Because, well, that's not, I don't really believe that. That's not the truth. That's not, I don't believe, of course I deserve to be wealthy, which is another aspect that when we're looking at the matrix, as we're talking about self, of course I deserve it. Yeah. But in the back of your mind, the first thought was, remember when I was 7 and I kicked that little boy down the street?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, man, I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to. I got to punish myself.
Yeah, for 30 years, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of honesty to get through this part, and then identifying what those beliefs are, and then it sounds like you got something in your system that then helps the person figure out how to change that to a belief that's then going to be. Is it more correct? Is it more beneficial to the building of wealth? What's sort of the framework or the guidelines in terms of making that belief adjustment? How do you help them with that?
Well, see, that's exactly it. Is the thing is got to change. If they're not getting the results that they want, obviously something needs to change. And here's the fun part about it: is we have said that you hear this, people, and we say it all the time. Is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. And it's amazing to watch people say that and then go do the same thing.
Or creatures of habit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we do it over and over. So it's a matter of identifying what's getting in the way. It's a matter of, okay, this is not helping me. What would be a better belief to have here? And so people will ask me, what should I believe about money? I'm like, I don't know. I don't live your life. If I give you my beliefs, that's my own values, my own experiences, my own what works in my life. So what I help people do is identify what works for them. Mm. And so I'm not going to ever give someone, this is what it means for you. Yeah. I will ask you questions in a way that you've never been asked before to allow you to get new answers.
Is there some kind of framework as an example to help them sort of have a concrete, okay, here's what a value set looks like? Or is there something like that to help them?
Well, it's a process that we go through. I've got, the matrix protocol. I've got, a mindset checklist, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the values and see, sometimes you can look at your values and your values are set, but we didn't set our values consciously. Our values were pretty much set by the time we were 7. What was important to us? What was number one? All these other things, which is another fascinating thing. And I don't think I mentioned it last week, but there's studies have been shown that like 78% of adults are the same religion that they were raised in. And it's I'm not saying right, wrong, or anything. I'm just saying it's very interesting that adults can leave, go and live their own lives, go and have their own experiences, and they still 78% are still staying in the same religion that they were raised in, which again goes back to that these values and beliefs that we have are programmed in way before we're conscious enough to make the decisions ourselves.
Yeah, that's amazing. And is it also true that that's maybe part of why sometimes you find ourselves doing the things that we heard and saw our parents do, but said we would never do?
Oh, exactly. Absolutely. It's again, it's a programming. It's things. It's our nature to do it. And so this is where you've got to take a step back and you've got to make a change instead of doing that same thing over and over again. Definition of insanity is you say, all right, instead of going in the karmic cul-de-sac, I'm going to make a radical change right here, right now.
Yeah, and see, I think that's what's crucial right here, Todd, is that the fundamental premise to all the good work that you're doing is this, I guess it's a belief that people can change.
Oh, I absolutely, I believe anybody can change. Mm-hmm. That, and here's the thing is they've got to want to. Here, I'm hearing you're throwing out all these quotes, things that drive me nuts. All right. Another one is, people say you can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Okay. Yeah. Then to parrot that into the coaching industry, people will say you can't coach someone who's uncoachable. Now, here's how I look at it. You know how you make a horse drink?
No, how?
You feed it salt. Guess what it's going to do?
Yeah, it's looking for water.
It's going to go drink. So when people say, you can't coach someone who's uncoachable, I say you have an inflexible coach. Mm-hmm. And so the coach has got to find what motivates the person. What is it that they want to change? Now, there is also I can't want your success more than you do.
Yeah, right.
All right. That's a fact. But as far as not being coachable, I just got to find what motivates you.
Right.
That's an easy thing.
That is, yeah, that is. Okay, so you've laid out how you got to this point where you identified your solution and your journey, right? And some of the key components to it. Quick question on this: what sort of time frame do you see it takes people to get through this belief transition, where on the other side of it they actually have different beliefs? And maybe different values, but for sure different beliefs, enough that their mindset changes. What sort of time are you looking at?
This is a fun question, and I'll give you the straight up answer, and then we're going to need to explain it. Instant. It's instant. When you change your belief, you instantly make new decisions. It's when you decide that you're a non-smoker. You're a non-smoker. When you decide that you don't drink, you don't drink. When you decide that I no longer have a new car, you don't still tell people you have a new car. It changes instantly. Your actions, once that belief changes, your actions and your decisions change instantly.
So is there a gap between a desire for, because I'm wondering if there's this sort of period of time where someone's sort of I don't know, playing with the fact that hey, they want to change their beliefs. It sort of sounds interesting, but they still see themselves going back to previous behavior or decisions. How would you describe that period?
I would describe that in a couple things. When someone, doubt, all doubt is a limiting decision. When did someone decide to doubt? That's really what it comes down to. And so when they make these changes, and this is where it gets a little dicey when people are talking about mindset, is there's a buildup, because think of it as peeling back the layers of an onion, because that's really what you're doing. Is there's beliefs upon beliefs upon beliefs upon beliefs. And so we've got to start at the most outer layer of the belief and say, okay, is this one helping or not? Nope. Okay. Boom. Let's put something else there. All right. Now that that's gone. All right. Well, where'd this belief come from? And you go down. So that's where it's going to take a little bit longer. But if you make a decision or you change your belief that, I'll go back to, I'm a non-smoker. I believe, I don't believe I smoke. Okay. I don't have to work on that. I don't have to think about it. It's a fact.
Right.
Right. And so that same challenge happens with any of your other beliefs. When you're talking about your money and your wealth and so forth, if you have a belief that you don't deserve it, and all of a sudden that belief changes to maybe not deserving it to that you are a gift from God, that's going to change your attitude. And there's actually been a couple movies about it, about that same type of thing. And I can't think of the name of it right now. But it was an Amy Schumer, and I'm not promoting Amy Schumer. But I think it was I Feel Pretty, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
But anyway, she was an overweight woman, and she couldn't nobody was liking her or anything. And she was in a gym, and she fell and she hit her head. And when she woke up from hitting her head, she believed she was beautiful. And so she started acting from right then and there that she was beautiful. And now all of a sudden people were talking to her, all these things changed. And even though that's a movie, that's real life. When you change your thoughts, your actions change, your results change, your decisions change, everything changes in an instant. You don't have to go through this build-up process of, kind of like lifting weights. All right, I got to lift weights for 8 weeks. I got to do this for 8 weeks before I can do that. No, it's a change instantly.
Hey, have you ever read the book As a Man Thinketh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Vincent Peale. Norman Vincent Peale.
Yep. That's definitely what's going through my mind as you're describing that. So, okay, so it sounds like the time frame could be very quick for some people to be making these adjustments, whereas others might take much longer, I guess, depending on either their willingness or maybe it takes a while to peel through those layers like you're talking about.
Well, exactly. See, I typically, the average time I work with someone is 3 months. And, and that's weekly talks, weekly calls, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And they're getting results within week one. And it's funny because I always get these calls back and it's like, you wouldn't believe what happened. And well, yeah, actually I would. But okay. It's all right. Go ahead. Tell me what happened.
Yeah. And in fact, if I didn't believe you, then yeah, that'd be sort of an oxymoron, right? So.
Exactly. But to get through all the layers, to go through all the process, to see it's basically you've got to clear the path, then you've got to design the path, and then you got to go into production. So that's kind of the map that I look at, right? So when I say people typically spend 3 months with me, it's the first month is we're going to clear all those things out of the way. We're going to get rid of anything that's getting in the way, slowing down, sabotaging. Mm-hmm. Then the next month is all right. Now we've cleared the path. Now we got to build a new path. We're gonna lay this down. We're gonna build a runway. We're gonna put some cement down, and we're gonna design out exactly where we're going. And then the final month is all right. Let's go. And the interesting thing is, there's results happening all the way along.
Okay.
But it's exponential when we get to the end. Is because all right, now we're launching.
Gotcha. So that's good though, because it ends up giving them positive feedback, encouragement to continue. Hey, I'm actually seeing things change as a result from early on. That's important.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask you this. So I hear this and I think, okay, so there's the human part of me that goes, this sounds awesome. And then there's the other part of me that says, wait a minute, I'm looking for, the guy behind the curtain, right? The wizard behind the curtain, right? Wait a minute. So I start thinking about this and I go, okay, so, maybe I'm thinking, hey, I've used coaches before kind of like this to help me. There's a lot of stuff going on out there about mindset. What is it that's different about, the approach and the solution, the things that you've learned that makes this different where you actually have the results? Can you speak to that?
Sure. There's a couple things that come out with that is people are coaches or internet marketers or info marketers or however you want to look at it, have discovered that mindset is extremely important. And so you get people out there now who are, let's say, sales coaches, and they're teaching sales. And now all of a sudden, they've got a mindset course. And you've got other coaches out there who are real estate coaches. And now all of a sudden, they've got a mindset, course. And I actually spoke with one of them, this person in real estate. And she told me, she's like, well, my mindset was what allowed me to do this. And I said, that's great. I invest in real estate. So should I go out and, teach real estate? And, this is what I specialize in. And then if we go into, baseball, you have the designated hitter, because the pitcher focuses on pitching over and over and over and over. So it's not that the pitcher can't hit. They can. It's just not what they specialize in.
Yeah.
And so I've been coaching for almost 20 years, focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's the wealth, abundance, and prosperity mindset. And so by doing that, I've been able to identify over 100 different beliefs that actually get in the way, slow down, and even sabotage people on becoming wealthy.
Yeah, that's powerful. So what if my concern is more personal, more internal? Like maybe I don't have the confidence, right? I've lacked the confidence, or I feel like I've failed so many times at trying to make adjustments. Man, maybe I've been trying to invest for years, or whatever the situation is, but I continue to make some progress and then fall back again. Right? And it's enough that over time, my experience is telling me, I have enough evidence to prove to myself, I can't pull myself out of this situation. I can't make the changes. I just don't have the, whether it's the ability, the skill, whatever it is, but I lack confidence to do that. How can you help with that kind of situation?
Well, that's actually one of the over 100 beliefs that I talk about is, where people will have something and say, you know what, this is just my lot in life. Mm-hmm. I've tried everything and I'm just destined to not be wealthy. Yeah. And, that comes in there is because I've failed over and over and over, or I come from a family, my parents aren't wealthy. Why? I'm no better than my parents. I'm not going to be wealthy. All these things come into the same thing. And when you're talking about confidence, it's interesting because there's a difference between confidence and esteem. And most people don't realize that they're not the same thing. Esteem is a verb. It's a doing. It is, I esteem myself. This is where you get the self-esteem. I esteem myself. I choose to value myself. Esteem is finding yourself valuable just because you're alive, just because you're on the planet. You don't have to do anything to esteem yourself. Confidence is based on past results, past behaviors. So what ends up happening is when our confidence goes down, people stop esteeming themselves. And when they do that, now they go into these beliefs of, I'm not that valuable. I don't deserve to be wealthy. It takes a lot of hard work to be wealthy. And I just don't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
And all these other things come in. And so really what you've got to do is, again, we go back to the beliefs, because here's the result circle. I don't remember if I mentioned this last week or not, but the result circle is basically this. Your results are based on the actions that you take. The actions that you take are based on the amount of potential that you tap into. The amount of potential that you tap into is based on your beliefs. Your beliefs, ironically, are reinforced by your results.
There you go. Wow. What did you call that?
The result circle.
Result circle. I like that. Okay. All right. I can see how each one feeds into it. So with a person that's dealing with that sort of self-doubt, you can help them with that circle break out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We're gonna change the circle. See, because that circle, when you're looking at it on a page, it's a circle. But if you would pull it out and look at it in 3D, it's actually a spiral, and it's either spiraling up or it's spiraling down. The choice is yours.
Mm-hmm. All right, I like that. Okay, what about, here's another. Let me throw this one at you then. I'm sounding like Debbie Downer, right? So let me throw this one at you. Let's say Todd sounds good. Okay, I think that's interesting. But guess what? I'm working 2 jobs. I'm raising 3 kids. Budget's tight. Time is tight. I just can't fit this in. Sounds good, but just so many things outside of my control right now. I just don't know how to address it at this point. What would you say? How do you help with that?
Well, there's a couple ways. There's the smart aleck way and say, okay, if you don't change anything, what's going to be different 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the hit them between the eyes one.
Right.
Then there's the thing, again, I can throw myself under the bus. I was working 3 jobs. I had a job at Pizza Hut. I had a job at Spencer Gifts, and I had a job at Olive Garden, all at the same time.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Then I was like, okay, well, this isn't working. I got to get better. And so then I went into insurance and securities and financial planning and so forth way back when. And so while I was doing that and getting my licensing and getting my insurance practice up, I was a bartender. So I was still working 2 jobs.
Okay.
And I had a newborn.
Wow.
At the time, and my wife was working 2 jobs. So I get the idea of feeling like there's no time. And the one thing that is consistent with everybody is time. Now, there's other things, people have different skill sets, people have different, monetary backgrounds, people come from different, sides of the track, all kinds of other things are different. But the one thing that we all have the exact same of is time. And here we go again. The ironic thing about how we choose to use our time is based on our beliefs.
So you could get started with that situation and say, let's make some belief adjustments. Ultimately, time would be allocated. I imagine you'd start to be able to find some point where you could actually use some of the discretionary time that's still available to help break that cycle.
Oh, there's time available. It's amazing to me the amount of people that use time as an excuse, but they can tell you that they were on level 497 in the latest. I don't even know what the games are, but whatever the game is on the phone nowadays, or or they can tell you who just did what in Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I mean, it's the time is there.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so you've taken us through this journey of how you found the solution, of how you started to apply it. You've handled some of my objections, right? I threw several objections at you. So let me turn the question the other way and say, all right, so what's next? I mean, where do I go from here?
Well, there's several things. One of the things I'd like to be able to offer your listeners there is I've got something I put together called the Millionaire Mindset Checklist.
Cool.
And this is something that's based on 753 self-made millionaires with an average net worth of $9.2 million and an annualized realized income of $700, and I believe it's $53,000, somewhere in there. Okay. I may be a little bit off on the numbers because I don't have it in front of me, but anyway, it's this checklist that allows you basically go through and go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and it shows you where you rank in your beliefs in 13 different areas compared to these 753 self-made millionaires. And it just gives you, a starting point. Because as you mentioned earlier in our session today, is there are some beliefs that we have that we don't know that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just an initial starting point checklist for people to get an idea of where they are. And so I'd be happy to give that to your listeners. The only caveat is they got to message me and they got to fill out this application, and then I'll be happy to email it to them, and then we can jump on a call and I'll be happy to. No sales, not a hard sales call or anything like that. It's just simply, let's go over your results.
Very cool. Well, how do they message you? How do they find you?
Well, it's real easy. It's toddgaster.com/apply. And so for those who aren't sure how to spell my last name, it's G-A-S as in Sam, T as in Tom, E-R. So it's toddgaster.com/apply. And it's just a quick little questionnaire there to give me a little bit of information about you. I get that. I send you out the checklist, and then we can jump on the phone and talk about your results.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Well, man, that's really nice of you to offer and to share that with the listeners. Thanks, Todd. I really appreciate that. Any final comments here as we wrap up?
Here's really what the question is we come down to, and the determination about your wealth and the level of your wealth is 100% based on your beliefs. 100% based on your beliefs. The beliefs that you have about money, wealth, abundance, savings, budgeting, all frugality, all these different things. And it's 100% based on your beliefs. So here's the thing. If that's what everything is based on, here's the question. What would you have to believe in order to be wealthy? And then the other question that goes with that is, what do you believe?
No, very cool. That would identify a gap for sure, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And if there's a gap, then you know what, you got to close it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to go through this with us here, to give us some idea of your journey, the brought you to this point. I hope at some point I get to invite you back again. Would you be open to that?
Absolutely. This has been fun.
It has been fun. I really, really thank you for the time. Hey, listeners, thank you so much for joining in. Reach out to Todd, toddgaster.com/apply. To take a look at his questions in the comments. What'd you call it? The millionaire what?
Millionaire Mindset Checklist.
Millionaire Mindset Checklist. Take a look at that, everyone, and give us some feedback on that. Thanks again for joining, and until next time, know your beliefs.
There you go.
Thank you for joining Grant on Financial Investing Radio. Remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Don't forget to download your free roadmap to high probability financial control before you make an investment decision. Visit financialinvestingradio.com now.